Hello, welcome to Monte Carlo Tamale.
Welcome, Gabby, to Monte Carlo Tamale. Are you sat in Monte Carlo?
Almost. Just the other side of the border.
Okay, so where are you? Where do we find you?
I'm up in Beausoleil, just on the Moyen.
Lovely. Super close. And how long have you been in Monaco?
I have been in Monaco since 2010, but before that I was living in Nice for 9 years. So
Okay.
I've been in the south of France for a total of 25 years now.
Wow. That's a lot of time, isn't it? So where were you born? Where are you from?
So I was born in Grasse in the south of France. And my parents then moved straight back to the UK when I was 4 months old. And I grew up in central London.
And what were your parents doing in Grasse?
Aha. So they actually, before when they lived in the UK, they sold up everything that they owned and got on a plane to India. And they decided that they wanted to go and live in India because they're quite
Why not?
different like that. And when they got to India, they had a really good experience there. But then my mum got quite sick, and a doctor that they met said, "You need to get out of here because in India you don't have, if you don't have huge means, at that point, at that time, if you didn't have huge means, then you really weren't going to get very good medical health care." So they got a plane and flew back to Europe. And at the time, my mum really didn't want to go back to the UK. She loves the sun, and she always felt very drawn to the south of France. So she said, "I'm not going back to England. I want to go to France." They got a plane to Paris and connected to Nice, and ended up in the south of France.
Such adventurous parents. Sounds so glamorous, doesn't it?
My mother's really adventurous.
So I know that when we first spoke, your parents were working in the health food industry. Tell me what they were doing.
So my parents started a business called Chalice Foods. I can't remember exactly what year it was. I think it was about late 80s in central London. They started off making Kalamata olive paste in the kitchen in Longacre in central London.
In Covent Garden?
With my dad under a plastic sheet pitting olives by hand.
Wow.
And then they ended up starting to make this olive paste and distribute it to various different health food shops. And then it started to grow and grow, and it was a completely organic situation because they'd never really planned it that way. And then what went from olive paste then turned into importing Mediterranean foods. And then eventually they ended up selling to Waitrose and Safeways and all the big supermarkets.
It's amazing. And would you say it was geared towards health food, or was it just literally food?
There was no ultra processed food in our house. I grew up very much, I was homeschooled until I was almost 8. It wasn't deliberately healthy. It was just the way they lived. They didn't live any other way. So that was what they did.
And it made sense that they wanted to be in the Mediterranean then for
Well, my
food.
father's Cypriot.
Right. Okay.
Thus the sort of darker skin, the Mediterranean.
And the surname.
My mum always wanted to come back.
Okay.
And so she said to my dad, "Well, look, I'm going. So if you want to come with me, you're very welcome. But I'm going." So he did. Yeah.
That was quite lucky. And then, so where did you study to think, like, career-wise? What were you thinking that you wanted to do when you had come to that time for you?
Well, I didn't actually go to university. I came out with my parents out to the south of France when I was 18, and I started working. And I did various different jobs. I was working for a guy that had a small yacht charter and villa rental business. And I went to the University of Life. I just started working and doing different jobs. My mum once said to me, controversial as it may be, my mum once said to me, "People who go to university often end up working for people who don't."
I didn't do uni. I set up my first business at 19.
Yeah. But when I first set up my first business with my ex-partner when I was 21, I used to walk into I remember walking into this meeting to go and rent this big office space in the centre of Nice, and we'd started up our property business. And the lady said, "Where's your boss?" And I said, "Well, I am the boss." And she said, "Well, is there a man?" And I said, "Well, he's not here. You're dealing with me." And she looked really confused. Seems
It's quite
crazy.
old fashioned still in France a little bit, isn't it, for things
Yeah.
like that, I do think. So yeah, school of life. So you were doing all kinds of different jobs. And was there anything that made you feel like this is me, or was it just literally, I'm just going to put my hand to everything?
Well, I set up a property business with my then partner, because I was working for an estate agent at the time who didn't really like paying my commissions. And I was selling lots of property. So I thought, well, hang on a minute, this isn't quite right. And at the time, my partner had he could get a French carte professionnelle because he had a law degree. So we went into business selling off-plan investment property. We're based in Nice, but it was called leaseback property, and so it was effectively buy-to-let for, and people were buying it from all over the world and coming to enjoy it for holidays in France and own a property that would appreciate.
And so where did the nutrition come in and the chefing and the cooking?
So not until much later. Always grew up cooking with my mum. My mum's a very good home cook, but always naturally made healthy food. I was effectively at that point, I was trying to decide what I really wanted to do. And I started during COVID, just before COVID. I had a few friends that were really struggling. There was a lovely guy called Peter that lives in Monaco, whose wife is not very well. He was struggling to feed her, and she's gluten intolerant and various things. So I said, all right then, I can make some stuff for you, and I'll bring over bags of plastic containers, and I used to batch cook for them. And then the word started spreading.
It was just good home cooking that you'd grown up with.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I've never had any formal training. And actually, much to the dismay to a friend of mine who's a chef, I have to be very careful now to say that I'm a cook when I cook for clients. And because chefs are formally trained and I am not, and I've never pretended to be so. So it's just been an organic thing, really, excuse the pun, because it's just grown. And I love food, and I love making beautiful, colourful food.
And you went to New York to study. That was to study nutrition?
Well, actually, the course was online. Although, yes, the school is slightly deceptively called the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which would lead people to believe that it was only about food. But actually, it's more about, the best way to describe it is it's a bit like a cross section between psychotherapy-based coaching techniques and the nutrition side. So they have two main principles, if you like. One of them is bio-individuality. So we're all different. What might work for somebody might not work for somebody else. Standard and straightforward, but actually, surprisingly, a lot of people overlook that when they're trying to sort their health out. And the other one is primary and secondary foods. So secondary foods are anything that you put on your fork, on your plate, and primary foods are everything else. So what you're watching on TV or not, who you're surrounding yourself.
Anything you're absorbing.
Yeah, your surroundings, your environment, and everything else that you absorb. So you might be eating really, really well, but if you're super stressed, then you're not going to be digesting that.
You're not going to digest it well.
So during lockdown,
Yeah.
I'd already been cooking for people a little bit just to help them out. And I'd been doing all these various different jobs because needs must. And at that point,
Yep.
I needed to do that. And I was, as everybody remembers, their lockdown walk. And the route that they did went round and round and round. And I was going round in circles, and I was scratching my head, as I'm sure that millions of people on the planet were at that point, trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I had a friend who had helped me with some events, who was a health coach. And I hadn't really kind of processed exactly what she did, but she came and made green smoothies and talked about and led meditations and things like that. And I thought it was lovely. And so I said to her, how did you train to do all these cool things? And she told me about the school. And I literally looked at the website and I was like, that's what I need to do. And it was just a question of when I did that. So I actually started the course in May 2022 and finished it in May 2023. So
And did you love it? Did you feel like this was your kind of calling?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. There's so much science in it. There's so much psychology and so much nutrition. All the great things that I just thought, well, I didn't even know at the time that health coaching was a job or a field. I wasn't familiar with it at all.
And yet there's quite a community in Monaco, isn't there? I've found, because I did In Your Element when I did my festival over there in 2019. I was kind of gravitating towards yoga teachers, nutritionists, and I found that I was going beyond the kind of Lamborghinis and the spot and the sequins, and found there was a really lovely, healthy community in Monaco that you don't always imagine lives there. And I know that you've built your own lovely community with the kind of women that you surround yourself by.
Yeah.
Did you find that once you decided being a health coach and that was something that you love to do, was then that something you thought, okay, I've got a great community I can help now because we're all kind of in it together?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I've had very few experiences with people who have potentially seen me as competition when it comes to what I do. Partly because there are very few health coaches in Monaco, which is great for me. Although there are lots of holistic practitioners. The thing is that because I run a charity, which I'm sure we'll come on to a bit further along, I already had a network of friends and people that I knew that trusted me because I have consistently shown up and done what I said for
Which stands
quite a
for
few
so
years.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was more about going to those people and saying, "What do you think about this?" And I think I should do this. And there were a couple of people that I did that with, and that I thought I know you know, and they said, "Well, what are you waiting for? This would be brilliant. Crack on." And I was like, "Okay." So I did, and it was really hard because I was trying to keep the balls in the air financially. And I remember a friend of mine actually said to me, "Forget having a social life for a year. It's not happening. Just go under what you're. It's like you're going to be underwater for a year."
You do have to kind of hibernate, I think. Whenever I've set anything up, I really have just, it's head down. And it is, yeah, it's a good year of just, if you want to make it work, you've just got to put everything into it.
Yeah,
Because no one else's, because it's your passion, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And also I then now have a community with my online community and in person to a certain extent with my health coach friends, which is super lovely as well. So that's a whole nother
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So what made you move from Nice to Monaco?
And my husband, I actually moved in with him for a week and stayed forever. Yeah. Well, we'd known each other since 2000, but I moved in with him for a week to hang out. And a week before, the day before I was supposed to fly back to the UK, because at that point I decided that after having lived in Nice, left my ex-partner, that I was going to go back to London. And I'd spent the whole month when I was living in London on the phone to him, staying with my friend in Hampstead. And she said, "Well, you might as well be there for the 14th of February 2010. That I was supposed to fly back on the 15th. It's a bit cheesy, but basically we turned round to each other on Valentine's Day, and he said, "You're not going to go, are you?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." And I stayed.
Oh, if I had a violin soundtrack, I would play it. That's lovely though.
Yeah,
I feel like, Nice and Monaco is worlds apart in terms of building a community.
yeah,
I think Monaco was obviously, when I was looking again, going back to sort of times when I was sourcing people to teach at the festival, I found like Monaco was just not a built-in community. You had to find people, but it was easier to find like-minded people, wasn't it there?
yeah. I think there's also an element of trust, and I'll tell you why. I think it's because it's such a small place that people think, well, they're not going to let me down dramatically because everyone's going to know about it.
Because I'm going to see you at Carrefour.
And so you think, well, what's the risk? It's not going to be very big because everybody knows everybody else. Nobody would bother.
So talk about your charity, because it was something that you set up. Is it 2014 you did it? It was quite a long time
Yes.
ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was 2014. It has been 11 years. And I am feeling it.
Chances for Children is the name of the charity. Yeah.
Yeah. It's called
So tell us more about it.
Yeah. So in 2014, my husband and I went on a holiday and stayed with some friends in Mallorca. And long and short of the story is we woke up quite hungover, lying by our friend's swimming pool. And I was checking through my Facebook page, and one of my friends, actually my first love from school, his stepbrother had gone on a gap year to Uganda, and they had volunteered or as workaways, him and his girlfriend, in this, I hate to use the word orphanage, but this home for orphan children run by this guy called Martin. And Martin was effectively totally skinned. And he's an AIDS orphan himself, but he was given a chance by a Ugandan lady who adopted him and then gave him the opportunity to have a life. So he was then adopted and given an education, but didn't want to go back and just go and get a normal job. He wanted to go back to the street and help the brothers and sisters that he'd left behind. So he started taking all these children in. When he got to about 20, his adopted mother said, "Well, this is all cool, but like my house isn't that big." Um, so he started reaching out to various people to give him to get donations, and he was getting $20 here and $30 there, but he wasn't really managing to scrape it together. And so when they went along and they appealed for some support, I think they needed like €2,000 to secure them at the time. We stepped in, and my husband had always wanted to run aid to the UN for the UN in Africa, but because he's a type 1 diabetic, they wouldn't have him because he couldn't get on the back of a truck because it was too much risk. And so he said, right, well, let's do this. Let's give them the money they need. And that one thing led to another. And then the first trip we took out there was in February 2015. So we're on both boards, Monaco, well, 3 actually, Monaco, UK, and the NGO boards in Uganda.
That's fantastic. And so you're still helping children now, 11 years later. No, 12 years later,
Yeah.
for 2026. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we now have 50 kids in our care. We are 100% financially responsible for these 50 kids. The eldest is now in university. Being IT specialization is AI.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're building our own place there. It's a tough ride. It's a really, really tough ride.
And do you get much support? Where do you get most of your support from?
So we have regular sponsors for some of the children. At one point, we did have a full house. We now have, out of 50, we probably have about 18 kids that don't have a sponsor at the moment. So that's really tough. But we will be we're just relaunching our new website, and we're going to be giving people a chance to donate 5, 10, 20 euros a month so that we can get a lot lesser money from a lot more people.
Yeah. So we'll link to that in the show notes so people can see that as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
And do you have much online contact with them? How do you see the progression go? How do you get involved?
I get lots and lots and lots of videos on WhatsApp. I talked to Martin, our founder. He's effectively like my adopted little brother. He calls me Biggie. So yeah, it's a relationship that is very much founded on trust, because obviously, we're sending all the money there. Although we do have Salesforce for anybody who's feeling nervous, and we have a full transparent accounting system, which has been absolutely critical to being able to raise money. And at times it has been tough because I haven't had the time to keep it all as shipshape as I would have liked to, because of the lack of volunteers. But now we've got a great team, so we're doing really, really well.
That's such a rewarding thing to be doing, isn't it? How great to be helping kids that, like you say, wouldn't otherwise get those kind of opportunities. That's amazing.
Yeah, it teaches you that when there's no answer, you find one. Quite often, there'll be a situation where we've got to find between 500 and several thousand euros to pay for something, and it's important, and we just find it, and we have to have faith. And it's given me an incredible resilience that I don't think I would have had to have if I wasn't ending up, funding children in the second poorest country in the world.
Yeah, incredible. Talk to us about your €30 miracles jar.
And
talk about having faith, because that feels like a seamless move into having faith via a little glass jar.
Back in, this whole thing started, I think it was 2019 or 2020, I can't remember exactly. We were not in a very easy financial position. I had been working in the charity for 7 years at the time, and I hadn't been paying myself. So I didn't feel like I was in the driving seat financially when it came to doing anything about it. At that point, it was really hard. I made a decision that I was going to start from the ground up. I sat down with a piece of paper and I tried to figure out what my skills were. So instead of thinking, well, I don't know what I can do and how am I going to make this work? I thought, well, what can I do? I made the list of things I could do. I speak French and I'm good with kids and various things. And I started putting adverts on Monaco Mums and various places, reaching out to my friends. I started tutoring my friends French. And I got this big glass jar. You know, anybody who's done the Ventimiglia run will know that you can get all these lovely antipasties and things in these really large glass jars from Italy. And so I rinsed out a really big glass jar and I put it on the side in the living room. I thought, I'm going to start making money and I'm going to stick it in the jar. And when I see that money, it will remind me that I am taking responsibility for my financial life. And that was the beginning of a very interesting journey.
It's funny, you said about how you really love Mel Robbins. There's a bit of a Mel Robbins about that, I have to say.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Being accountable and watching something physically add up as well. So it's not just in your head, you can actually see what you're doing and see your progress. When you sat there thinking, oh, what am I good at? Even I was thinking, I don't know you too well. And I was thinking I could list lots more. We never give ourselves credit for the things that we're good at and we could help other people with. So that was probably another really good thing that you saw how much you could do as well.
I think for me, it was about taking responsibility, and the transparency of the jar represented the fact that I wasn't playing the ostrich anymore and that it wasn't going to go anywhere because I could see what was there.
Yeah. And how long did it take for you to feel like the jar was half full and half empty? How did you start looking at the way the jar maybe elevated you in terms of, I'm doing all right, actually, I'm moving forward?
When the jar was full is the answer to that question. One day I couldn't get any more in it.
Excellent. And did that really change your mindset? Because it must have given you a real boost.
Yes, it did. So when the jar was full is the answer to that question. And I think one day I thought, you know, I'd had some financial issues, which meant that I couldn't have a bank account under my own name in Monaco or France for a while.
You really must stop robbing banks.
I know. But you know what? I think it's actually really vulnerable for me to talk about this, but I think it's so important that people start talking about finances in a more vulnerable, open way, especially where we live, because I think
financial well-being is sort of also becoming quite a topic of conversation in the well-being space because it's part of your mental health, isn't it? And if you are worried about things financially, that is going to eat away at you. Financial well-being, so important.
Well, when we're talking about within the coaching space, we're talking about the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And we're trying to do everything we can to get back into the parasympathetic nervous system, which means that we need to feel safe. And if we don't feel safe, whether it's financially or physically or emotionally, then we're not going to be confident.
You haven't got anything from the ground up to work on,
exactly.
Have you? No. So let's talk about your Zest for Life platform, because you've recently set this up with Fanny, who is one of our favorite people, one of everybody's favorite people. So congratulations for working with Fanny, because that's quite hard because she's a busy lady.
It certainly is hard. It's very hard.
Tell us about that partnership and how you're trying to bring balance to people's lives.
So Fanny and I have known each other for 12 years. She's been my friend. I started dancing Zumba with her 12 years ago. So I've known her for a long time. And we're both very passionate about helping people. And she was one of the people that said, go do that course. She sat on a bench with me and she said, we were both sitting there eating our salad. And she said, go and do it. We will be great. You need to cook your way there. And so I did. And then about middle of last year, I had a business coach, and my business coach had said, right, you need to identify key people that you think that would be good partners. And she was one of the 5 top people that I thought would be really great to work with. She said, look, I really want to do it. I think it's great, but I haven't got time. Meaning everybody.
I managed to get a podcast interview with her.
Exactly. Well done, you. It's quite, you know.
She was FaceTiming me in her place in Italy.
Yeah.
I fitted it in with the morning crop walk.
Yeah, she's incredible. She's extremely well respected. Everybody knows how amazing she is. I've been running Zest for Life now this is my 3rd year, but I wanted to partner up with a practitioner that was seeing patients. She was struggling with the patients not doing what they're supposed to do between consultations and sessions. And so we thought that if we brought the Zest and the Zen together, it would mean that they would have a bridge between her doing the clinical and diagnostic work and Chinese medicine side, and me helping them to take that out into the world and actually execute what she was telling them that they needed
Yeah.
to do.
So you could support them with food options. And I know that you cook for people still now.
I do part-time at the moment, cook for a very lovely family in
Mhm.
Monaco, but I am moving gently, sort of slowly away from that eventually to only, doing a specific health medical type cooking.
Which is great because it's finding a niche, isn't it? And that's always the thing with a business, is finding more of a niche.
It's really important not to cook too much because it's exhausting. I love cooking. I love making beautiful food, but also standing up for between 5 and 7 hours a day. It's also very tiring. But when I
Yeah.
can help people, when I sit with people and I can help them to figure out how to create a habit that's gonna stick, whether it's whatever that might be, whether it's drinking more water or exercising or all the things. It's effectively taking people from what they know they need to do to actually doing it.
And you're setting up, I saw on your flyer, your most recent flyer, that you're doing courses. Is this something that you're running from a certain time, or can people sign up and do a 4-week with you? Is it starting from January? What is the timing of
No,
it? Just
there's no specific timing. We're actually having a meeting tomorrow to talk about starting
okay.
workshops for people in various organizations in Monaco and working with our clients as well. But no,
Brilliant.
it's really very much people can choose one of the different programs at any point because they are bespoke. So they are made to measure for that client. They've got 3 choices depending on how much support that they would like. So we're ready to go.
That's your 2026.
It is.
Is. So just to wrap up then, because we've been through so many journeys with you. 2026 looks amazing because you've got this new platform and you seem to be doing something that you really love, which is helping people. What are you doing for you for 2026? What are you giving back to yourself to nourish yourself?
I'm creating more space to do things that I find that I have fun doing. And one of those things is I spent most of 2025 indoors doing business development and doing the hard, heavy lifting when it came to the business. So getting outside a lot more, um, allowing myself to take time to do things that are fun and that don't necessarily need to be productive. Like I'm going skiing on Friday for the day, and it's not a weekend, which
It's so hard when you work for yourself, isn't it, to give yourself that day off?
yeah,
I mean, I know this. I've worked for myself what feels like forever for decades. And even at the weekends, you're not really switching off.
mm,
And you have to physically, like, you're going skiing, or I have to leave the house, so I'm not just sat on my laptop anyway just checking emails.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so really getting outside, and I want to start traveling again more. I've been glued to the south of France and Monaco really in the last year because I've just been so busy preparing and creating all the systems and processes and networks that needed to be in place.
Where's your ideal first place to get a plane ticket to?
Right now, sorry.
Come on.
No, I just really want to go and spend a bit more time with my close friends. I've got 2 very close friends in the UK, but
You don't want to go there quite yet.
let's
It's
just say
really
I'm manifesting the Maldives for this year. That'd be nice.
do it.
And
I think Mel,
go back to Uganda and go and see my kids.
yeah, that'd be
It's
amazing.
been a while.
Well, it's so amazing what you're doing, and I wish you all the best for 2026. I'll have to check in again and see how your Zest for Life program and platform's going.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing so much with us. These conversations really about inspiring other people that might be in a similar position, that you can feel a bit stuck and you can see your way out of it, and all these different methods and ways that you've been doing that. I hope that will inspire some other people. Get the antipasti jar from Ventimiglia.
Get back in the driving seat and just do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much, Gabby.
It's my pleasure.